Hello and welcome to Past Your Bedtime. My name's Bev. With the hot weather forcing another early harvest this year, school holidays and the show season in full swing, it's a busy time for many in farming at the moment. Meanwhile, I'm catching up on a few tasks, but managed to get down to the Great Yorkshire Show this week to enjoy the livestock judging, equestrian events and sheepdog trials. These form the backbone of the show for me, and whilst the other attractions such as the amazing food producers, shops and demos are incredible, for me it's all about watching the faces of the handlers as they wrangle their animals in and out of the show ring in the hope of a few moments of good behaviour. So in lieu of recording a new episode this week, what better way than to revisit my chat with Yorkshire lass Louise Day from New Sheepfold Farm, just up the road from me in Ingleby, Greenhow. The following episode aired back in November, but it's so rich in detail regarding the changes her farm has gone through, it merits a rerun for anyone looking at their own diversification plans. Louise and husband Mark continue to work on many projects, coordinating plans with the various bodies that regulate what's permissible under the Farming in a Protected Landscape framework. Nestled in some of the most stunning scenery on the North York Moors National Park, this award-winning farm is home to several rare breed sheep, cattle and goats. At the time, Louise would tell the tale of a goat called Alan, famed for being unproductive, but who would go on to surprise her and her guests staying in the shepherd's huts on site. Sadly, Alan died earlier this year, but his legacy lives on. R.I.P. Alan. Here we are, getting into how Louise would begin her farming exploits with a small herd of unruly Soay sheep.
And then about 15 years ago, one of my very good friends, a gentleman called Jack Hatfield, who a lot of people would know locally in North Yorkshire, he had a sports shop in Middlesbrough. Fantastic guy. I used to go and watch the Middlesbrough football with him. He was the director of Middlesbrough Football Club, and I used to go with him to the matches. Good friend of my dad's. Unfortunately, he had to go into a home. And as he was going to the home, he said that he had these sheep, these 4 sheep. And he thought I would be the perfect person for his 4 sheep, because I'd always admired them, always thought they were great. And basically, he said they were free, so obviously free sheep, and they were going to be good, and they were just going to be like really good grass cutters. And that began my foray into rare breed Soay sheep. If anyone doesn't know what Soay sheep are, they're like the wild sheep of sheep farming. They're completely mad. They have a flocking instinct. They would probably prefer to jump over your shoulder rather than walk around you. If you don't catch the lambs within about 2 hours of them being born, you won't get them until you get them all in together.
They're completely wild, aren't they?
They're a complete challenge.
Did you have somewhere to put these sheep at this point?
Yeah, I had a field at the time. I did have fields at the time. So yeah, I know I had a field. So we got that all done. So yeah, so it was really good. But as part of that, I then got in contact with a fantastic lady called Lynn Arrowsmith, who lives at Rascal, and she's got Rascal rare breeds, and she's really passionate. She has incredible. If you want to check her out, she's amazing, and she's really, really, really helpful, really useful. And so I decided to get because unfortunately my 4 sheep from Jack weren't registered. And if you're not RBC registered at birth and you've got that pedigree, you can never register them in the future. So they weren't registered. But then I got 3 sheep from Lynn and a ram. So then I had some extra ones. So I was able to start my breeding. And then fast forward a little bit further, and Mark and I then got together about 12 years ago, and I ended up moving to New Sheepfold Farm. And my sheep came with me. They were very much branded Louise's sheep, but they didn't really do anything. They produced some lambs. We sold some lambs for some shearlings for grazing to various places.
Yeah.
The Soays aren't the same as normal sheep, as in that they're not ready. They don't mature fast. So they take about at least 18 months to mature. So obviously you've not got the turnaround, but also you've not got the hands-on. You literally can pretty much leave them in a field and let them get on. We don't worm them. We roo their own wool, so you don't have to shear them, which is fantastic. But again, it means you've got less contact with them, so they're still very wild. So at the time, I didn't really have anything. We were still a dairy farm, and we were kind of looking on the farm. It's a 240-acre farm. Mark and his parents had built up an incredible herd of dairy cows, the Bicklygate herd. His mum and dad had retired, but still living close by. And Mark was doing the milking. We had 2 full-time people working for us, a cowman and somebody that did both the cows and the machinery. And it was kind of, it was amazing because we were producing really, really good milk from incredible herd of animals, partly through a parlour, partly through a robot.
Yeah.
But we live in an incredible valley, incredible part of the North York Moors. But I think sometimes when you are doing quite intensive farming, like we were doing, it was quite intensive, you kind of lose a little bit of focus about what's around you and where you are. But we thought, actually, right, let's maybe try and do a bit of diversification just on the farm. So we got into contact with North York Moors National Park Planning at the time, and they suggested that perhaps we could have a couple of pods down the hill, no cars, people could walk to them.
By pods, what do you mean?
Like sort of
people to camping?
People to camping overnight from doing a walk.
But
it would say no cars, so people would get to them. And for anyone that knows, including yourself, you'll know where we are. We're sort of 25 minutes from the nearest pub and at least a 15-minute drive from the nearest supermarket.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to work. We couldn't have pods, like camping pods, because we'd have to spend all our time backing and forwards and everything. And the location was kind of right in the middle of the farm. And obviously at the time we were still sort of doing dairy, and you wouldn't want people having to go through all the time where we were going to be moving the cows and everything like that.
Yeah.
So in early 2017, we were quite in a bit of debate what we were going to do. And then our cowman came to us and said that he was leaving to become an evangelical minister, which is quite a move away from being a cowman. So actually it made us think. We had lots of conversations with. By that time, we'd looked at different things we could do on the farm. And Mark's dad, Paul, incredible farmer, first generation farmer, and he just knew dairy. And to him, it was a perfect dairy farm. It's, we've got incredible grassland, but that's what it was, a dairy farm. But at the time, also, Arla were looking for us to get milk collection every other day, but our bulk tank wasn't big enough. So there's lots of different little barriers in our way and lots of headaches that just probably needed to update the parlour a little bit. Lots of things needed doing. And it was kind of a good juncture to sort of think, well, let's just take a step back. But because we didn't think we could diversify on the farm, we thought, right, we need to sell. So we put the farm on the market, and in October 2017, we sold the dairy herd, which was such a sad, but also such an amazing experience. Because it was on farm, and we sold the most amount of polled cows, which means they're not born without horns, because Matt was very into his genetics. Most amount of polled cows to Northern Ireland that have gone in one consignment at the time.
It's so hard. Though at that point, you don't know what you're going to do.
It was very, very hard. We then were left with, we had quite a few cow stables actually till Christmas by the time we got the license to move to Ireland. But they moved all over the place. But yeah, we got characters. It was heartbreaking to say goodbye to some genuinely lovely cows. And by that point, it was totally different for me. From going from no pets, I was then totally involved. I'd shown a heifer at the Great Yorkshire Show, doing a bit of showing. Your daughter's done a bit of showing for us. It was, you had your favourite, you had the bonds, which that person that talks to animals, and we had a lot of very huge bonds. We kept a couple of animals that were very special for retirement, but it was a massive change, a massive shift. So we knew we couldn't leave the farm. We had a few things going on, so we knew we couldn't leave the farm without anything on it, because while we were trying to sell it. And to begin with, we thought the farm may sell quite quickly, but it's an amazing grassland farm, amazing farm. But the house it doesn't reflect it, basically. The house was built in the 1970s, and it was built with brick from a housing estate in Stokesley. The people that owned it at the time, they were the builders. So they built it then. And so it wasn't really in keeping with what you'd want, the type of house you would want for the size of the farm.
Yeah.
But you either had the two different ones. You had new entrants that would have been absolutely incredible coming in and buying it as a dairy farm, but that couldn't afford to buy it because of the value of it. Or you had people that had the available funds, but they didn't like the house. Or
if you would have sold it at that time,
Yeah.
What did you have in mind to do?
We
Get out
wanted,
of farming altogether?
no, not at all. We wanted to have something a little bit smaller, a little bit of a smaller farm, but where we could diversify. So we had a
Right.
mix. So it was much more of a mix is what we thought. Maybe like some sheep, a few
Yeah.
cows, and to diversify. And we
Yeah.
thought that'd be a really good sort of way forward. But anyway, so it wasn't selling. So we actually went away after the sale, went to Scotland for a few days. And while we were there, we bought some sheep on Facebook.
As you do.
Bought a flock of sheep on Facebook, and then decided, because we thought we might as well lamb them in the next, have a go at lambing next sort of March, April after we were away. And we also bought some suckler cows from a friend, somebody that we knew. We bought some suckler cows, and so suckler cows and calves actually we bought, just sort of thinking that they'd be really good for the grass to suit the farm. We also did a little bit of heifer rearing as well, because with dairy heifers. Did a little bit of that, did a bit of contract dairy heifer rearing. But the farm wasn't selling. We had lots of different people interested, and then we had people saying, I'm definitely going to buy it, like you do get. And then nothing ever came with it, or the funds weren't available, or whatever. You know how it is. So yeah, no, but then actually, that was probably the best thing that ever happened, that it didn't. Because by that point, we lambed our first sheep, and I absolutely loved it. I just loved lambing. It was just incredible. It was the highest. I think it's the time in your life where it's the highest and the lowest. That I'm quite even. I don't often have real dips in my emotion. But I think lambing can send you there, and it makes you think about the people that do struggle ordinarily. Yeah. When you have those particular lows, and that can just be the fact that, you know, you've battled, you've saved a lamb, saved this lamb, it's been born, you've revived it, you've got it under a red light, you've injected its stomach with glucose, you've brought it back to temperature, it's running back round again, and then 4 days later it drops, you find it dead in the corner of the pen. Yeah. And but I can't help myself. I get so emotionally attached to the animals, and I think that's a sign of a good farmer as well, because you have got. I mean, I love the animals. I absolutely adore them. But that doesn't mean to say I'm just going to be a farm park that's going to let people come and pet them. No. If you see what I mean. Yeah, no, I do. Absolutely. That was really good. So we did that, and then at the same time we decided to go to the glamping show. The farm wasn't really selling, so we thought, well, we were more along the lines of we might be going to stay, and we were doing different things, but came up with loads of plans. So we're doing all of this, and then, like I say, we sort of came to the conclusion that, it's not selling. And then if we move forward to the summer of 2019, so we'd done another lot of lambing, and we went to the glamping show, and we actually discovered an organisation called Freedom Camping. They talked to us about how actually we could have some shepherd's huts with a CL license, and which is a caravan license. So people have like caravan spots on their farm, but we could actually have shepherd's huts because they're on wheels and they're movable. So we quickly investigated it, a lot of detail, put permission in for it, and ordered
Was that the blocker? The fact that you're on a national park?
National park, yeah.
There was a restriction.
Spoke to planning, and everything we wanted to do, you just couldn't do it because it just didn't fit with where we were in the national park. So but even with freedom planning, though, they can make restrictions. So we were told that we had to plant so many trees and different things. Everything had to be movable. So everything, even your fixtures in the bottom of the shepherd's hut, it couldn't be permanent fixtures. They had to be movable fixtures. Yeah. So we ordered we looked at shepherd's huts then, and then we identified we wanted to go luxury because it needed to be different, needed to be very, very different. But obviously, as I said earlier, I am like Yorkshire girl, tight. I mean, I've always been really tight. Like every single penny is accounted for. So to me, luxury is not Martin Lewis's money saving expert, if you see what I mean. It's like complete extreme. And so what a change of mindset for me. Like it was just like, whoa, like I can get a corkscrew for £1.75 in B&M, or this corkscrew is £14 in John Lewis. But I had to go for the £14 one, and you know how hard that was. It was like, whoa. It's like the shepherd's huts are like the luxury that we get a second.
It's ironic.
something breaks in the shepherd's hut, then we'll get it. And then it was kind of, do we allow pets and everything? We suffered a dog attack on some of our sheep, and we thought, actually, no, we probably don't want to have dogs, because if we had dogs, it would mean that where we were going to site the shepherd's huts, we'd have to put fences in, we'd have to put little gardens in for them. And we wanted the shepherd's huts to fit in with the farm.
Yeah.
They're on the edge of the farm, but they wanted them to fit in with the nature and the environment. And by putting a picket fence in front of a shepherd's hut didn't kind of go with what we were aiming for.
They look, when you drive out and you see them over on the left-hand side, and it's just like, oh, isn't that sweet? It's like four shepherd's huts just plonked there at the edge of the woods and meadow grass.
Well, we wanted to put them in the wood, actually. The wood you're talking about, we wanted to put them in the wood, but unfortunately, we discovered that the wood was actually protected. It's protected as an ancient woodland, but it's not ancient woodland. It just was planted as pheasant cover, but it had been deemed as being ancient woodland, so we couldn't do that. But the plan is now, since we put them in, is Mark's kind of bringing the wood out. So we've got incredible planting beside them to make them very private. So you wouldn't know there was anyone else beside you. If you're in one, you wouldn't know anyone else was beside you. So yes, that was the idea, that we wanted them to sort of blend right in.
Yeah.
So we spoke to various different shepherd hut companies, and we found a company in Bristol, which isn't local, but it did exactly what we wanted. We ordered 2 shepherd huts, very excited. And then we spoke to a local craftsman, a guy called Henry Thompson. He's incredible. About building like a decking in front, because we wanted to make it very private. We knew we wanted hot tubs.
Yeah.
We wanted like a decking area people could make the most of the beautiful dark sky, the beautiful surroundings and everything, and really sort of enjoy it, have a nice barbecue on there. So we did all this, and then the first 2. So then we used the old cow sleepers we used to use for bringing the dairy cows in. We used those as all of the tracks and the base.
Yeah.
So it was all reusing things as well. And it was really funny because, well, I say funny now, but the first 2 shepherd's huts drove into the yard in March 2020.
Oh my gosh.
For anybody would know that. And we hadn't planned to launch them really until the end of April. The plan was to get them in place, launch. Henry was going to come and build the decking, and we were going to launch in probably end of April. At the time when we were ordering shepherd's huts, we said, do we need to order our hot tubs now? Because we wanted British-made hot tubs. Yeah. Now, there's no problem. But obviously, for anyone that in lockdown, you'll realise that suddenly everyone and their dog wanted a hot tub.
Everyone was making improvements at home, weren't they? And
so everyone wanted a hot tub or something like that.
Yeah.
So
and it was a glorious summer.
Supposed to be on 4 weeks lead time.
Yeah.
Suddenly we were told we couldn't get a hot tub until August, which actually, with the way it all worked, with how lockdown and COVID worked, it was okay. And obviously then we launched into COVID, which was just mad, because obviously we could sell every night. We could have sold 3 times over because everyone wanted to do local stays. But it was hard. It was really hard to turn, especially when they started doing the tiers, because you had to turn people away. So it was like, where are you coming from? Someone was coming from Peterborough. Well, no, you've just gone into tier. I can't remember what the word is. Tier 3. You can't come to tier 2. You can't come to us because you're tier 2. We're tier 3. And it was really hard, but it was amazing from like my marketing background. It's using so many different skills that I've kind of.
I was going to say, do you think you thrived because it was a whole bunch of different challenges, and you're drawing on your background, your business background, your sort of problem solving to try and make it work?
I think Mark and I work really well as a team, because Mark's he's got lots of ideas. He's like a real idea. In fact, now we've got 4 shepherd's huts. So we got 2. The year after we got 3, and then it took him a year and a half to persuade me to get the 4. And he was desperate to get the 4 because he'd made 4 pads. So we had space for 4 shepherd's huts. We could have had 5, but we wanted to make it, we didn't want to push them all in. So we did it, spread them all out, and we had the room for 4. And there was one little pad that was empty. And he kept saying, look, really, we'll have a 4. And I kept saying, no, I can't do it. I can't manage it. I can't manage it. So I think I was much more cautious, which I found I'm not somebody that just sort of rushes into something. I'm quite like to take a step back and think, will this work? I don't want to do anything that's not going to work. I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
So I'm quite determined. So Mark was totally right. It was the right thing to do to put the fourth on, but it didn't have to take some. He literally was like,
He was quite determined too.
Yeah, he was very determined to get the fourth. But which is brilliant. We're able to bounce ideas off so well because he's got ideas and kind of it all sort of works well together. So yeah, now obviously it's totally different now with National Park because we're working so closely with National Park with the farm as well. Like I think I thought of National Park as quite scary. Just because you're in North Yorkshire Moors National Park, you think it's like, but I think that's because that's was planning maybe. But again, planning are brilliant. You just need to work with them. But I think it's the perception. Whereas now we sort of just through a chance tweet, actually, we got involved with National Park and it's just been incredible. Their team there is really, really helpful for farming as well in the National Park.
Do you go out to other farmers and help them understand? It sounds, you're so passionate about it and you've been through a journey to try and find what will work for your farm, your unique situation and location. How do you spread that word to other farmers?
We did. So we've done a few different things actually, because the main part we started working with the national parks is the part of the farming in protected landscapes part, which is like there's grants. That's headed up by a guy called Dave Arnott at National Park. He's really good, really inspirational, really encouraging as well. And also then we've worked with the tourism team, which is headed up by Katrina McLeese, but her team again, Emily Watson. There's a lot of them that are absolutely, brilliant people. So what we do is we say, if we can help them in any way to like promote anything they're doing, or if they want people to talk to us about what we've done, we'll very happily have them coming onto the farm. So we actually had a group from the University of Cumbria come who were doing a course on farm diversification. Yeah. And they actually came to our farm for the day, and Mark and I were able to show them the different things we've been doing, how we've been working we've got ponds and scrapes on the farm to increase our lapwing population. That was one of the things to do with farming in protected landscapes. And to show them what we're doing, we also did a whole farm soil analysis, which has allowed us to look at the different types of grass we have on the farm. Because obviously with like resilience now, we need to look at different length routes for the grass. And we were very much a dairy farm, which is obviously lots of silage, lots of fast growing grass. And now we're a beef and sheep farm. We need to look at the different types of grass to allow the cows to be on it for longer, so they can be sort of still on it in November, December. And also that it's not going to be affected by the extreme dry or the extreme wet conditions. So we had the University of Cumbria group come out, and that was really, really good to be able to tell them what we were doing and how farming in protected landscapes had helped us. We then, and we now, our soy meat is now Louise's dodgy sheep have now got a real focus, because we've got people buying meat out of the vending machine. We've been able to really promote it. People understand it's like hogger. It's really lean, really gamey. It's got a whole different like taste to it, and it's really fantastic. So we've started working with a fantastic company called Forge Valley Roasters, and they invited us along to their Scarborough brew bar, and we had an evening, and they did a little intimate evening, and they had 15 people come along for a tasting menu, and their starter and their main was all New Sheepfold Farm soy hogget on the menu. Wow. So they did starters and the main, and there was all little tasting plates and everything. But as part of it, they had to listen to me chat for 15, 20 minutes about what we're doing on the farm, about rare breed meat, and about the importance and why soys and native breeds, and not just soys, but that's just one little thing we're doing, but how native breeds are so important because they can be reared on grass, and also that that it's really good to sort of have such high quality local produce. So they did that, and so we went and did a talk about farming and protected landscapes there. Then I did a talk at the local WI in Ingleby Greenhow as a fill-in, just as a last minute, dropped out. I'd never done talks before, never done anything. And it was like 30 ladies, and I was so nervous. And it was just brilliant to be able to say, and bizarrely, it's Ingleby Greenhow, which is literally 3 miles down the road. We're actually in Ingleby Greenhow as our parish. And so many people didn't know about us, about what we were doing on the farm, what we were doing with the vending machine. And it brought a whole new customer. And it also taught me a lot. Again, we're talking about meat before, and I mean, I've had to learn all the different cuts and everything. But we need to sell everything from the tongue to the tail in the beast, and we do that very successfully by lots of different social media and things. But people were saying, "Oh, well, I'd love to try your lamb chops, but I live on my own, or we've got very small appetites." So now I've started to do little mini cuts. So we do like a little mini top side, which is like 0.5 kilogram, which doesn't sound very big, but it's a little top side joint, but it'd be perfect for like 1 to 2 people. And it's absolutely brilliant just for someone to even put it in a slow cooker if you wanted to do that. But it's just like an old fashioned roast, but little roasting tin with in fact, you can cook it in the air fryer. So that's if people have got air fryers now that, maybe live on their own and things as well, rather than putting the oven on. So it's been really, really good. And that's been great. So we did the WI talk, and then we talked about what we're doing differently. And then I very randomly got asked to be the North East Federation WI speaker on Yorkshire Day, and went to Burn Hall near Easingwold and spoke to 150 WI ladies, which is very, very daunting. What was amazing at that was the WI Ingleby Greenhow, my mother-in-law's part of, so she heard my talk there. But also she went to the one with 150 people there, and she was there. And it was amazing to have my mother-in-law there, like proud of what we're doing, which has really meant a lot because, it's been a massive shift for them. I mean, Mark's parents have been absolutely incredible. His dad cuts the grass on a little lawnmower once a week. He's been in ill health, but he's like tried when he can do it to do it. And Mark's mum's always is really supportive, and we do like open events and things on the farm. She comes along and helps, and she's great, and they love the produce we're doing, and they're very proud of what we're doing. So yes, it was great. And then we had earlier on the year, we were very delighted to welcome Rishi Sunak, who's our MP, obviously ex-Prime Minister. He came to the farm along with Tom Hind and Jim Bailey from North York Moors. Tom Hind's the CEO of North York Moors, and Jim Bailey's the chairman of the North York Moors North York Moors Trust. So they both came along with Rishi and his team to see what we were doing. So we were able to show them the huts, we were able to show them the vending machine, but importantly, we were able to show them what we were doing with the farm, with nature regeneration, the ponds and the scrapes, and we got 32 lapwing chicks this year that we saw, which was it doesn't sound a lot in some ways because it's a massive farm, but it's incredible. We got down to maybe like 2 or 3 lapwing chicks at one point. We always looked out for where they are and everything. There'll be more, but we've had incredible birds on the ponds, and we just really want to work with nature. So we do that, but obviously as part of that, you need to tell other people. So we've started doing school visits as well. And that started first with an organisation called the Country Trust. They're a fantastic organisation that help children from deprived backgrounds come onto farms and learn about farming. And we worked with those for a couple of years. And then they said, look, you probably could do this on your own. You've got the available, you've got the capability to get the message out there, to get schools to come to you. And we can do it as part of our countryside stewardship mid-tier. So we do get paid, I think it's about £318 for a day for a school visit, which sounds like a lot of money. But when there's myself, there's Mark, there's my fabulous uncle, Uncle Dick, who's a retired deputy head of a special needs school. And he comes along and gives his time up. And then on top of that, if you've got quite a few children, I've had my mum, Mark's mum, my sister, Kelly, who works for us in the huts. We've had it's a real team effort, and there's quite a lot of planning needs to go in before we do them. Yeah. So it does sound like a lot of money, but then with the countryside stewardship, we don't get paid for 18 months often anyway. So we don't do it for the money, but the money is useful because it's obviously a whole day of our time. The children arrive about 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock on a bus, and tend to come from, we've had quite a lot of children from Middlesbrough, Redcar, Darlington, that sort of area, that part of Middlesbrough and Durham. And they come and then they get to have adventures. They get to have 3 different groups normally, depending on their age. So if they come and they're like 4 and 5-year-olds, obviously they come with a lot of energy. So we start off with farmer training, which sounds like really exciting, but farmer training involves literally running up and down in the field for about the first 10 minutes, just practicing being a farmer. So you have to run after sheep and things, which is brilliant because it just gets rid of all the energy.
Yeah.
And then they get this really, and everyone says I'm really scary, but obviously we're not a petting farm by any means. You know, we don't want to encourage, there's so many, we don't want any crypto, we don't want any diseases or anything. So I give a big lecture about farm safety, about hands, about not touching anything. And we discuss about, and I always say to them, right, put your hand up if you pick your nose. And the amount of them put the hand up and go, I do. And I say, right, if that happens today, you're going back on the bit. It's kind of like encouraging them not to like put the hands in their mouth or to chew things, you know, because we can't afford them to get anything. So then they split into 3 groups, and Mark does like the nature and the environment with them. And he talks to them all about worms and bees, hedges. They look at how important hedges are as a shelter belt. They look at, if it's windy, it's really good because you can put them right next to the hedge and say, this is how the hedge protects you from the wind.
Yeah.
They get to go meet our Royal Golden Guernsey goats, and they get to understand about the Golden Guernsey goats eat willow because it helps with the worms and things like that. So it's really, they get to do that as one section. And then another section, Uncle Dick does about tractors and horsepower. They learn about how it used to be horses, and they have like a pallet, and they get to see hands-on about movement and about how a tractor, and then what a tractor does on a farm. And then I do animal husbandry, which is bizarre considering I don't come from any, we talked about how I had no pets. I'm now doing animal husbandry. So I talk about caring for like the animals, caring for newborn. Often we do it in sort of May, June. So we've got lambs around. So we can talk about what everything that lamb has, about ear tags, about navels, about tail, why we do different things, basically, about hygiene and things. And so, yeah, it's actually really good last year with a couple of the school visits, because we had, some of the lambs had off. So I could keep all the children like 5 meters back from them to say like, and I said, it's a bit like chicken pox. And we were able to discuss about why it's really important when you go onto a farm, you can't just think I can touch that animal. Yeah. Because you may end up with some sort of, and it sounds quite harsh, but I think it's so important that children learn it's not.
Respond to that probably better than we do as adults, right? Because they're not put off by it. It's just a fact.
No, but also the most important thing I do is we do talk about how our animals do go for meat, which sounds like a bit of it's hard. You've got all these animals around, and I mean, where we've got our vending machine, where we've got our picnic tables, the animals are just behind it. We've got we've got sheep, and we've got sheep this year's lambs, and some cows, and we had a newborn calf yesterday. They're all in the front field. So people come to the vending machine or come to a school visit, and everything's around them. But I think it's really important that they're connected with it. I think that's really, really important. And to say, and one little girl put her hand up actually to Mark at one of the last school visits we did before summer, and said, "How do you kill your animals?" She was like, and Mark said, "Do you know what?" He said, "It's a really difficult question." He said, "But we give our animals the absolute best life. Really, really important. We give them the best life. And then we want to ensure that when they do die, that we give them the best death. And kind of, we want to make sure we've got that the meat from it is the best it can be and produced, and it gets what happens to it. Someone cooks it in the best possible way." And kind of the child understood it and understood that what we were trying to do. And I think that's so important, because you can go to a supermarket and you're so disconnected with your food. Mm-hmm. It's so hard to feel that connection with where it comes from. And so now we're able to say, come and understand, and sort of, and it is hard. And it's really hard on Instagram. We have Instagram and Facebook for New Sheepfold Farm. Yeah. It's really hard to on one day be putting a picture of like cute lambs on, and the next day saying, come to the vending machine and buy a lamb leg shank. But it does actually work. It works because it's real. We're not trying to sugarcoat it and say, but likewise, the animals do. We are very proud of what we're doing and how we sort of treat them and everything. And I think that it's important people see that. And actually, I've got a couple of ex-vegetarians, which sounds a bit funny again. A couple of ex-vegetarians have actually come to the farm and said, "I really want to try meat." And they've come and they've taken little things and just gradually learned. It's been through medical reasons. They've been advised to start eating meat to help with various things they've had going on. I think I'm really proud of the fact that we can say they can see where it comes from and what we're trying to achieve. So I think you can taste the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I think that they've not got the stress. They've not got so that's kind of where, I mean, we've got a fantastic abattoir, which is a little bit far away, really. We use Stewart's in Durham, which is a nearly 55-minute drive, but
have you always used that one, or did you use one that was nearer?
We used a different one in Northallerton, but that one just didn't work for our logistics. Because we never knew when we were going to get the meat back. So we'd take the animal to the butcher, great guy, but we'd never know whether it might come back on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So we couldn't plan anything. Whereas now we do things like we've started doing a farmer's market at Goathland. So we're able to plan that the meat comes back on a Friday. It comes back to us sealed. We can then weigh it, label it, and we can go to the farmer's market the next day. And we know it'll all be there. And we know that everything we ask for, it'll be packaged beautifully. Jamie, the butcher, he's in Willington in Durham. He's incredible. He's so good. He came to the farm to see what we were doing so he could understand it. And that's so important to me, that he really wanted to get to know what we were doing, meet the animals. He's brilliant. Absolutely.
I think I follow him on Facebook now.
Do you? Yeah, he's really good. He's actually just started selling our beef and lamb from his butchers frozen, because he appreciates so much what we're doing, and people are coming into his butchers and saying, well, have you got any of the meat that you know is really good? And he's saying, pedigree beef short on and local lamb. And so it's great that he's doing that, but he's brilliant. So he can literally, and he sort of communicates so well that people can do pre-orders of meat. People can say, can I have a whole fillet, or can I have a brisket? But I want a brisket that's only a certain size. And I can literally send him a list. And he's fabulous. But so this week I've got to go and collect some lambs. He's doing some lambs for me, because we're actually we work with 2 different restaurants now. So we still work with Forge Valley Roasters, I was talking about, who've now got an amazing restaurant. If you're near Wycombe on the way to Scarborough, go to it. It's fantastic. It's a coffee shop. And it features our lamb. So it's New Sheepfold Farm lamb as a chili, which is really unusual to have lamb chili, but it's got such good feedback. And it's, they've been doing it from sort of like using like lamb shoulder though. So not using mince as such. And making a chili, and it's incredible. So it's definitely worth going there. And then we also supply Tack Room at Kirk Levington, which is near Yarm. And they're brilliant. They're absolutely fantastic. A fantastic couple. And they're trying to do, they want to use locally sourced beef and lamb. We can't, it's difficult because you can't say it with a restaurant. We couldn't supply some with all their sirloin steaks, for example. Because we need sirloin steaks for our vending room, because that's a big seller for us. And obviously you can imagine a lot of people from our huts now come and they either pre-order our meat or they come up to the vending machine and buy meat to use on the barbecue. So we need to have things like steaks on farm. But obviously, if we can encourage local restaurants to say use the braving steak, or parts where you have a lot of it that, obviously it's a big seller at the moment because everyone's doing stews and things. But, it's kind of, so they've been doing a steak pie at the Tack Room, which excitingly was being used with Hoxton lager. So it's like, you've got to imagine it's like us and Diddley Squat sort of together in a pie. So I think it was a bit of a good combination, really. So but without close Jeremy Clarkson now, it's like
Jeremy who?
So it's pretty exciting. So so it's really good to have that as to show that these people think our meat's that good as well. It's really good.
Your passion for it is just infectious, and I'm just blown away by the differences and the creativity and the things that you've been thinking through to do, particularly the educational piece around the kids, the thought that goes into that. I think you should have a job on the Yorkshire Tourist Board. What's next in the short term for you and the farm?
In the short term, we've just actually met with the North York Moors National Park. We've got a list of about 4 things we're trying to do with them at the moment. We're also working very closely with them for sustainability tourism, because we think it's really important that we like I say, we've always been passionate about the environment. Mark was an early entrant in countryside stewardship and in SFI. So we do all that work on the farm. So it's also going through to the huts as well. So we've recently gone over to things like eco washing up liquid. We provide robes and slippers to our guests, but we've now gone to no plastic on the slippers. Sounds like little small things, but it's little changes to make us more sustainable.
Yeah.
But we're part of a special international sustainability tourism group with National Park. And we're looking at ways we can positively make an impact by just making small reductions in what we're doing with regards to the tourism, the sustainable tourism. So we're looking at perhaps going to work with a local bike hire company, someone I used to actually go to school with, to be able to offer, Mark Pearson, to be able to offer, do you? Oh, brilliant. Yeah, Mark's fantastic. So to be able to offer people to be able to hire bikes when they come and stay with us, because we're not possible. You can't say to people do occasionally come without a car. They'll get a train to Battersby, but then they have to obviously get from Battersby to us. It's not an easy place.
It's not easy.
No, but we'd like to encourage people to get out and about on foot. I mean, we have the Cleveland Way, the Coast to Coast. We've just got the most incredible walks near us. But also, if you'd like to have a go on a bike, if we can offer the hire of bikes, it'll just make all the difference.
Let's give Mark a little plug. It's Bike Base, isn't it?
Yeah, Bike Base. Yeah, Bike Base in Gribdale. And but yeah, like I say, so we're going to work with Mark. I'm just waiting for him to actually come out and take some photos of some bikes, and then we'll be doing that, which is great. It's so important to work with local companies. I mean, everything we have in the books is all Yorkshire produce and things. We work with we sell eggs from Great Ayton, from Phelps's free range eggs. We do Yorkshire crisps. A little bit of a funny story, our cakes are made by Worsdale Farmhouse Bakery in Beedale. And the reason, and Mark's known Adam for a long time since Young Farmers, but Adam used to be our Cemex rep, selling us cow semen. And his family, he now sells us cakes. So it's a bit of a move from still supporting him, but a bit of a move. So it's a bit of I did actually say that at my WI talk, and look, the ladies were chuckling. I didn't know if it was the right thing to say or not, but I did. So yeah, no, it was really good. So yeah, so kind of doing that. We're working with family and protected landscapes. We've got quite a few little ideas going forward. We want to make it. I think I'm very passionate about education, like we said, and we both are. And I think just to make things a little bit easier, people maybe like a few things to help people understand walks, cycle routes. We're going to work with there's a program called Outdoor Active, the national parks work with. So if we can start producing some routes for people to do some walking routes, but taking in other places. I mean, the Dudley Arms at Ingleby Greenhow is fantastic for food. And if we can encourage people to, we already do a little hand-drawn map to the Dudley in the hut, but to encourage people to, sort of take in sort of local places and explore the area, because it's an amazing location on the edge of the North York Moors, and we're so lucky. Yeah. And just to get people on foot, on bike, and really sort of taking it in and sort of being immersed in it. That's kind of an idea. We're doing sort of on that.
I've been blown away, but I've been told not to tell anyone, because otherwise they'll all want to live up here.
Yeah, but I think going back to talking about when we were a dairy farm, and if you asked Mark, he would say that he didn't really appreciate how beautiful and how lucky we were. And because when he was sort of in that, milking or, working sort of, dairy farming can be quite a lonely, even though you've got people around you, it can be quite a lonely job. And I think that my whole admiration for people, getting up every morning at 4:30 or earlier and everything. But I think sometimes for us, it's been a real positive change, because we would have to get more intensive, but our farm wasn't the right farm for that. I mean, you have got some incredible intensive farms that are able to do things like that. But our farm, which more suits the extensive farming, and, our cows grazing, our sheep grazing. In fact, did you meet Evie? You probably met Evie, the pet lamb, when you came up, did you? She's very much a character. When people are on the picnic table, she was a positive lamb. Yeah, and she just comes over and has a chat with people, and then we have the goats as well, which are great to sort of get people close enough to bring the farm to them as well in the huts and things. So
yeah, why did you get the goats?
We got the goats because we planted a wildflower meadow in the section between we've got some trees. I made a wildflower meadow to encourage the bees, really, to encourage the wildlife, the nature. And we did it before SFI, so it wasn't part of an SFI thing. And then it just went mad. The wildflower meadow went absolutely mad, and we just knew we needed to be able to manage it a little bit. But obviously we didn't want to cut it, because obviously then it just didn't work. So Mark's always loved Royal Guernsey goats. So I went to the Yorkshire show because we love to go to the Yorkshire show and look at what else is going on. And we decided that was the way forward. So we got Thistle, Bella, Calypso, Kiwi and Tango. And then we decided that actually we'd probably quite like to breed from them. So we actually got Alan, the billy goat. So
Alan suffered from not having a nice exotic name.
Yeah, no, he has. To be fair, Alan isn't actually. I can't remember what his actual pedigree name is, but I don't think it's something very similar to Alan. But to be fair, when we got him, there was 2 goats. We got 2 billies at the same time. We got Alan and Steve, and it was going to work quite well for social media because obviously there's the Alan and Steve sort of clips and things. But sadly, Steve died, so Alan was left. Anyway, he's left with these 5 girls, 5 nanny goats, should I say, rather than girls. And anyway, but then we had him, and he was a bit shorter than them, and he had him for about a year. Nothing happened. And I stood up on the 1st of August on Yorkshire Day at the WI talk, and I said, Alan's Alan, all in name. I said, he's an absolute duff. I said, he's done absolutely nothing. And, we've got none of our goats, no kids, and nothing's happened. And then on the 3rd of August, so 2 days later, we had people staying in one of our huts. It's a real regular visitor. Mm-hmm. And she sent me this brilliant message, and it was like, it started off like, "What a really good stay, Louise. Could we get a joint of whiskey?" And then it was like, "We're not going to be able to come and stay in September because we're away, but we'll be back as soon as we can. P.S. Isn't the goat kid really cute?" This is a massive long message. And I was like, very funny. We don't have a goat kid. What are you talking about? Anyway, she sent me a picture, and there's Kiwi walking along with a goat kid.
So Alan Jaffa after all.
No. I'd absolutely dissed him. So when I did the talk last week for women in farming, I did a talk last week, and I had to apologise to Alan because I felt so bad that poor Alan. But now he's gone to a whole different extreme though. So now he's like walking around the field. When you walk near him now, he's strutting around like saying, "I'm the man." So he's completely. It's so funny. He's like, yeah. So yeah.
Is there a picture of Alan on the Instagram account?
Yes, there is. Yeah, he's the white one. He's the white one that Mark thinks we need to spray green when he's like the Grinch. It'd be ideal for Christmas. But anyway, so we got the goats to conservation graze. So they're doing a fantastic job of grazing amongst the wildflowers. But also because it's right next to the huts, people get a chance, and they're very, very talkative. Like I said to you earlier, I chat to animals a lot, and the goats are really, they are quite responsive to you chatting. So it's quite fun, really. Yeah. So,
fabulous.
But yeah.
Loads going on. Oh, well, Louise, thank you so much. It's just, I could just like set you off and you go on your subject, and there's 1,000 other things we could have talked about, and I'm sure we will do again.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me along.
No, thanks. Well, thank you for inviting me to the Women in Farming talk a couple of weeks ago. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. You were great, and Alan got a mention. But the whole experience was terrific. And let's catch up soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and good luck with Past Your Bedtime. It's very exciting. Look forward to listening to it.
Thanks ever so much. All right, you take care.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks again to Louise for taking the time out of her busy schedule to talk to me. You can find all her content on various social channels. As always, I'll share the links in the show notes. And while you're at it, why not follow me on Instagram under Past Your Bedtime 2025, where you can see some photos from the farm and a picture of Louise and I when I popped over to get my beef order. If you enjoyed listening, please like or subscribe or leave me a review. It really helps others to find this podcast. Thanks for listening. And if it is past your bedtime, then perhaps it's time to turn in. Until next time.